Okay, let's talk about judges and how judges are appointed. It's a process that we've talked about a couple times already this year, but it is extremely important. It's a gigantic power that both the president and the Senate have to pick federal court judges. Now, not just Supreme Court justices, but all federal judges. So that means from the district courts, that means from the appeals courts, all the specialty courts, all of those, and the Supreme Court. All of those people have to be nominated by the president, and all of those people have to be confirmed by the Senate, all of those judge positions. Now, as you can imagine, because they serve for life, this is a extremely serious and extremely important power that all involved kind of realize. So presidents want to pick as many Supreme Court members as they can, as many federal court members as they can, and the Senate wants to confirm, like, in a responsible way. That advice and consent power is something they take very seriously. Because of this, there is a lot of input from a lot of different sources. So as the president's selecting, as the Senate's confirming, lobbyists are going to be, kind of letting it be known who they like and who they don't like. Because they realize at some point there may be a lawsuit that concerns their particular interest, and they would like a pretty sympathetic judge to be kind of sitting there making some decisions. They get input from other senators, other judges. The American Bar Association weighs in. So, for example, they have a rating system for potential judges. Let's say I'm a potential judge. They might say, that Dennis is pretty unqualified. He's a terrible candidate. And again, that doesn't mean the president's going to follow it or the Senate's going to follow it when they confirm me. But it is just, again, another input, another source of information that potentially is out there. The president utilizes what's called senatorial courtesy for district court judges. Now, not for appeals judges, not for Supreme Court judges, only for district court judges. And the reason they do this is because the district court judges are very regional in nature and kind of where they're at. What senatorial courtesy is, if you're from my political party, I'm going to ask one of the senators. If I'm a Republican, I'm going to ask one of the Republican senators from the state that I'm nominating, do you like this person? Do you like this woman that I'm nominating as the district court judge? If the senator's like, oh yeah, like she's really good, like that means the president will probably go ahead and do that. If the senator's like, ooh, train wreck, bad choice. Senatorial courtesy means a lot of times the president will take the senator's word into account and nix that pick, thinking that the senator represents that state, the district court being in that state, the people that live there are going to have to kind of deal with that judge. So they're going to let them kind of have maybe a bigger say than they would normally. Again, this only counts towards district court judges because, again, they're dealing with people from a certain state. Appeals court that deals with a part of the country, and the Supreme Court, which deals with the whole country, the senatorial courtesy does not apply to that. Federal judges serve for life, like I mentioned. So this is a really important thing. I think I've used this example, and I'm going to keep using it. Ronald Reagan, when he was president in the 1980s, appointed a lot of really conservative, a lot of really young judges, a lot of judges. And they are just starting to retire, they're starting to retire, but for a good chunk of time, like, he had a big say over what happened in government. Long after he was president and long after he was dead, he still was having, those Reagan-appointed judges were still having input on our government. So absolutely, it is a important, extremely important power. Presidents and the Senate take extremely, extremely seriously. The Senate questions in the confirmation hearings. Now, hearings are held by the Senate in order to determine if this person is qualified. These are the most brutal hearings. We talked about cabinet, ambassadors. They all have to go before the confirmation hearings, and they're tough. They're gonna dig into your past, dig out any skeletons. But for the most part, people that are nominated by the president to be like on the cabinet, they're gonna get confirmed for the most part, unless there's something absolutely terribly wrong with you as an individual. For the courts, it's a little bit more tricky. Because you're there for life, they're really going to double down, really going to investigate, really going to grill you. And why I'd say more people get confirmed than not. It's definitely a tougher road to hoe. There are more people that get turned away for sure than in any other positions. The Senate's questions can be extremely brutal. In the 1980s, there was a person named Robert Bork that wrote a lot of very specific articles, gave a lot of very specific interviews about the things that he personally believed in. So when it came time to the Senate deciding if they wanted to confirm him to the Supreme Court, he already had all this information out there about him. They knew what he believed in. So the questions were very marked about like his positions on certain issues. He eventually ended up getting turned down. This has changed the way people have approached the nomination process. A lot of times, potential judges or justices will give very vague responses to answers. So if they say, Justice Evan Wilt, how would you decide an abortion case? Like, what is your philosophy? Evan would then come back and say, well, it depends on the facts of the case. They're all different. I would take all those into consideration and then make a fair ruling. So he'd give a very vague response. He wouldn't say like, well, I believe in this. Like, he would keep it as vague and as legally responsible as he possibly can, because he doesn't want to give people a reason to not vote for him. Okay, so selecting judges is a pretty big deal. It's a pretty intense process, and it's pretty fun to follow if you're a political junkie. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know, and I will see you guys soon.